Kia ora, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of The Drop Clutch with me, Ricky V. In this series, I'm interviewing as many metal drummers from around New Zealand as I can get to, just to find out what makes these guys and girls tick. Now, my guest tonight is a legend in the Kiwi drumming scene. He's been around for a few years now. In bands that he's been in, they have supported Slayer, Lamb of God, Fear Factory, Ozzy Osbourne, Opeth, Trivium, Shihad, Exodus, to name just a few of them. I have Mark Rees of Subtract and Deadhouse Gates. Mark, how we doing, man?
Good, man. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you, sir. So to get us started, Mark, can you tell us about yourself, tell us about your history, give us a brief rundown, please?
Basically, I started drumming, let's say 13. I was at school and I just started to get really into music. I started off into punk rock, stuff like that. I'd grown up with Dad's music. He was into Black Sabbath, Cream. It's probably one of his favorite bands, Led Zeppelin. So it was quite normal for me being a tiny little kid hearing that stuff. I probably heard it in the womb. You know, John Bonham's my hero. Number one, always will be. But then, you know, you get to teenage years, I want to be my own person. So punk rock, I really like the sort of dangerous element, early stuff like I mainly liked British stuff like Sex Pistols obviously was huge.
Sure.
For me, stuff like that. And then later on, a bit more militant stuff like Conflict and Crass and stuff like that. Yeah, I was pretty into that. But then once I got better at drums, I started to realize I can play this stuff pretty quick. And I was sort of looking more of a challenge. And then actually the day I got my first proper drum kit, which is a Black Pearl export, which is he bought me a copy of Led Zeppelin 2 on vinyl with Moby Dick on it. So after that, you know, so that sort of spun me out. And then I'm like, oh, that's right, Dad listens to good music. Yeah, I got no beef with him when it comes to musical taste. Then I'd say, you know, just to keep it not too long-winded, so started getting into metal, but early on, you know, because I was into punk rock, I was like looking at long-haired poses, you know, running around in spandex, you know, I want to keep it real and be punk rock. So, which is funny, look at me now. But then I heard stuff like I remember specifically being at a party and somebody put a tape of Back in Black by AC/DC on. And I just freaked out. I was like, this is the most, you know, I ended up turning the cassette over like 4 or 5 times and nobody noticed. I was just listening to it. Fast forward from there. So then I'm sort of leaning more to the rock stuff. Then I heard Motorhead. And as we all know, the perfect gateway band bridging, you know, the worlds of punk rock and metal. So after that, then it was just a tide. Like, you know, I'm old enough. I heard Master. I was listening to Master Puppets when it came out. I think it was 85. I first started getting into Metallica. Okay. I remember going to a place in Christchurch. I'm from Christchurch, called Grunt Records, and a guy there, Bruce Ray, who's not with us anymore, but he was a champion of metal, champion of early Shihad and early New Zealand bands. But he would have all the imports. You know what I mean? All the other chains wouldn't have it then. He'd have every Metallica album up on the wall, and I was like, which one shall I buy? I'm in my mid to early teens and early teens. And he was like, oh, they're all quite different, you know. So there's only 3 albums out at that point. Yeah, so I went for Ride the Lightning. That was my first one. Sure. And it blew me away. You know, this is in this Stone Age. I remember I got the picture disc too. And I remember literally going home, putting it on the record player, and I just sat there, watched it spinning around. And I would turn it over and just watch it. I was just absolutely captivated.
Sure.
And, you know, then Slayer, then everything on from there. Just like a tidal wave, just you know. At the same time, I always loved Iron Maiden. I absolutely love Nico McBrain.
Great drummer.
Maiden, I with my Pisces, I play his signature ride. It's beautiful. Yeah, you know. So I love that stuff too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, yeah. were you all self-taught, or have you had, or did you have drum teachers along the way?
Well, I had, but you'd say self-taught. I had, when I first started, I had, it was a music teacher down at the intermediate. So I'd moved on to high school, but my intermediate used to go. But he'd teach everything, a bit of guitar, a bit of bass, trumpet, clarinet, bit of drums. There's no drums there. There's a practice pad. So I had a drum kit at home. You know, I'm a teenager. This is my drum kit at home. Oh, I have to leave my drum kit now and go to drum lessons. So I think maybe 6 months. I learned some, basic rudiments and some basic reading.
Sure.
That was about it.
Okay.
It didn't make much sense. There's no drums there,
Yeah, kind of.
I'm a teacher now. I understand that. I totally understand that. You you want to touch them and hit them, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Moving on now, Mark. Can you tell us who some of your favorite drummers are and whose style has influenced your playing the most?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Led Zeppelin's probably my if I had to pick a band, but that's mainly because of John Bonham. I mean, he's got everything from early on. I love Ian Pace from that era. See, for the 70s is a huge influence on me because, without getting sidetracked, when I listen to 70s, my favorite 70s drummers, John Bonham, Ian Pace, late 60s like Ginger Baker, Cozy Powell, a little bit later, early Maiden, all those guys, they played differently, but they also sounded different because obviously it was all analog recordings. It's one thing that irks me a lot about modern metal is everybody's playing this running race where they're all trying to play, the same shit 5 BPMs faster every week, but you're all using the same samples. I can't, back then, instantly, just totally different. If you listen to, I forgot Bill Ward from Black Sabbath, huge.
100%.
But if you listen to a Black Sabbath record and you listen to Bill Ward's drums, you listen to John Bonham's drums, you listen to Ian Pace's drums, completely different sound.
Absolutely.
Totally different, which to me gave my early influences, so much. They were so distinct in that regard. You know what I mean? You couldn't get them confused. Whereas now I'm like, what am I listening to? Oh yeah, that's right. So they were totally different, and that was expected.
Sure.
And obviously, it was all done in one take. It still blows me away now that the stuff that I, put up on a pedestal as tracks or performances that I absolutely just am blown away by. They're done in one take. Well, live albums, for example, huge influence on me. Live After Death by Iron Maiden.
Yep.
Fantastic. Just
amazing.
And improvisation, which again, that's gone from heavy music now to mostly.
Sure.
Which upsets me a little bit. Well, it does. That used to be expected. You should, if you went to a concert back in the day and you played the song the same every time, the crowd would be like, fucking boo. You're supposed to, it was expected, but you give them something extra. Because, as the songs develop, as you go through however many months you tour for when you're in a band like that, they develop and they try different stuff, you know what I mean? But now I don't know whether everybody's too afraid of that because they're being filmed every 5 seconds. They don't want to try shit, that's not totally nailed. I understand. I mean, I play the click when I play live and record. But I do, I do improvise. I'll improvise my fills and things like that. And kicks and snares, you got your main grooves, you leave them alone, right?
Yeah.
As long as the fill starts in the same place, it ends in the same place. I'm gonna stretch out and try and come up with something slightly spontaneous. I like that, a little bit of risk, and that's what to me separates the truly great players from the ones that they're not bad, but you just don't remember them. It's the guys that throw curveballs and surprises. You're like, holy shit. Never seen that, but he doesn't do that on the album. You know what I mean? It's like, wow.
Absolutely.
And then you find out later that it was just improvised in the spirit of the moment. I'm such a geek. I'll listen to alternate takes from albums like Zeppelin albums, and it's like the alternate takes of the drum takes. And it's only the same with Deep Purple. You listen. If I just pick a totally predictable track like, say, "Smoke on the Water" by Deep Purple, and you listen to the alternate takes, all the fills are different.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
solos are completely different. And we've grown up listening to, that's note for note, fucking perfect. You know what I mean? Stairway to Heaven. Iconic shit where you like those fills, that solo. You listen to the alternate take, and the guys, oh no, we only picked that one by consensus. That's the one we agreed on as a band, and the engineer liked it. It wasn't that we were like, yep, that's it. At the time, a lot of you read these interviews and like, yeah, at the time we thought it was cool. We were pretty happy with it, though definitely weren't like, high-fiving and yeah. But those performances go on to be the ones that you just, keep coming back to time and time again. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So you have been fortunate enough, as I alluded to earlier, to perform with some amazing international bands, heroes of the genre. If you could narrow it down to one, what has been your favorite drum performance that you've seen live? If you could narrow it down to one.
Yep. I would say we were lucky enough to, this is with Subtract, my previous band, to support Opeth when they came here.
Sure.
And they played the same dance, and that was really fucking cool. The band wasn't actually, we were sort of changing some members. We didn't actually play that well, I don't think. I got a recording up somewhere. That's all right. Nothing to write home about. But anyway, Opeth was absolutely amazing. But I was, I think that was on there's a Ghost Reveries tour. But the previous, Martin Lopez, the drummer, had left. So I was gutted. I was like, oh, fucking typical. Get to play with Opeth. And Martin Lopez, I've been, really getting into his playing. He's fantastic. His bloody left. And who's this bloody new guy? And of course, it was Martin Axelrod.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. And at the time, I was working at the drum shop up on K Road there. You might know Andy there.
Sure do. Andy Young.
Great guy. Great guy. G'day, Andy. Awesome dude. So I used to work there, and I managed that store for a while. So a lot of the time, I got to sort out the kit for Opeth, take it down to the show. You know what I mean? And so that's another way you get to sort of meet the guys. All lovely guys, you know what I mean? Martin X has got a terrible stutter.
Oh, okay.
Only in English, though. He doesn't stutter in Swedish.
Really?
He stutters in US, which I thought was amusing. But they will, and then of course they start playing, and at this point there's not even anything on the internet really of Martin X, apart from in Bloodbath, and I was just like, holy shit, this guy's even better.
Okay.
So that really stands out because I just remember going from disappointed to that my favorite guy Martin Lopez wasn't playing in Opeth to as soon as they started, I'm like, holy fuck, this guy's just got it all. You know what I mean? I'm still gutted he's not in Opeth. Something happened during COVID. I don't know what it was, but he left sort of around about that period. You guys okay, but you know what it's like when it's a band that you like love and you love and a big part of the reason you love them is because of the drummer, and then he's gone.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, the new guy can play it, but it's
Oh, righty. Now,
so that one was amazing. Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. Well, what a great answer. Thank you so much. Now, moving on, this one has been a little bit more difficult for the drummers that I've asked to answer, which is exactly why I keep asking it. Mark, how would you describe your style?
I would describe my style as an attempt to channel, say, my favorite guys from the 70s and 80s, which would be an attempt. I'm not putting myself in the same group as these guys, but an attempt to channel John Bonham, Ian Pace, Nico McBrain, guys like that, plus and sort of meld that with, I'm a huge Pantera fan, love Vinny's playing.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? To kind of, so I guess take those 70s guys who were predominantly single kick guys and add double kick when necessary.
Sure.
So I like to play a lot of ride stuff, which is, I like a ride cymbal, for Christ's sake. I'm still annoyed that Thomas Hark doesn't have a ride cymbal anymore. Don't get me started. We could do a whole interview on that.
Sure.
Jamie from Ulcerate, my good friend, him and I will quite often have dinner, and the whole thing is just us bitching about what drummers used to do and why don't they fucking do it anymore, and you know, shit like that. And just go on and on. Yeah. So that would be my style, trying to get the 70s guys I love and sort of drag it through to the present time. So keeping that kind of, I guess, that groove, which felt a little bit more free in those eras.
Mm.
And then the later stuff. I mean, Vinnie Paul's just one. There's so many metal guys that I dig. But you know, I mean, that's one big influence there that I would add. Yeah.
Sure. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So obviously your newish project is Deadhouse Gates. Can you tell us what the writing process is, please?
No, it's a bit different. Like Subtract was going for a long time. That was about 18 years or something. And that basically just came to the end of its life, really. You know what I mean? That's most bands only last 2 or 3 years, to be honest. So to get a run that long was pretty good.
Okay.
Martin was the last guitar player. We had a few lineup changes over the years, and he was the last guitar player that came in. So when Subtract finished, I'm like, should we just keep going? And he had a bunch of ideas that we just fleshed out. Yeah, absolutely. So we just started doing that, started demoing stuff. Usually I've got a decent roll on TD17 where I've got all the bigger cymbals, and you know, it's good for that kind of stuff, good for practice too. So we'll just demo some drums. Martin will drop box riffs all the time. So we just spent like a year and a half or 2 years working on stuff. We didn't have a singer or a bass player, obviously. And we just kept, and then we started, you know, once we had a set of songs, we're like, right, we should really start looking for someone. And you know, from past experiences, I know that finding a singer and a bass player, well, don't hold your breath. Finding a good, yeah, you know what it's like, man. Finding a good anybody for a band is hard. It's really hard. You know, they got to have the ability, but they've also got to like the stuff that you intend to write. You got to have a good temperament. You got to have some patience, you know, and they got to be good. So it's a lot
Absolutely.
to ask, really. I think, you know, drummers are notoriously hard to find, good drummers. I would say, though, in my experience, I've been playing a long time, even going back to the covers days when I was playing as a kid in Christchurch, singers. To get a good singer, a good front man, I'd say that's the hardest thing to find.
Absolutely.
And so we got young Zach. Zach, he used to be in a band called Decentra, a local Auckland band.
Sure.
And I just, where I teach, it's a rehearsal space to bass in Auckland here. And I, you know, you see people coming and going. I teach like 45 students a week there, so that's all I do. And you hear bands, you hear them playing, and you see them, and yeah, it's going. Anyway, I heard them through the wall. I'm like, that singer's all right. So cheeky me, I just basically after a couple of weeks, I just popped my head. Hey guys, how you going? Sounding good. What's your name? Zach. It turns out that Zach's actually a guitar player, which is handy as well. So he's come up with quite a few guitar riffs as well. Yeah, so he's a good. Yeah, so basically he joined, and then after that, then we could really, because the songs we'd written had been with a vocalist in mind. I don't know if you've done this before, but that can be quite nerve-wracking where you're like, okay, we've got the guitar parts and the drum parts, but we've got this imaginary person who's going to come swoop in and make it all awesome with their amazing vocals. We don't know who that is yet, you know. So Zach came aboard, did a great job, and plays bass. So we never intended to be a three-piece, but we're a three-piece, which I love. It's kind of, you know, makes me pretend Motorhead, whatever. And, you know, it's a limited amount of people. We've all got our own real estate there, you know. I like that. That's cool. Martin does some sort of loop stuff live when we play live. You've probably seen Decapitated, the way Vogue does his stuff.
Yep.
So certain solos come in, there'll be layers that'll be playing, and obviously because we played a click, that's fairly easy, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, absolutely. But now the Zach's in the band, you know, just for example, for today, we've got a bunch of new stuff that we've been playing, and he's like, "Oh, hey fellas, just drop box vocals for the new one." I'm like, "Oh shit!" It's just got demo drums, and I've never had that before, where the vocals are sort of being written simultaneously at the same time as the music.
Sure.
Traditionally, anybody else I've jammed with in the past, it's been music first, vocalist comes in as the last piece of the puzzle and puts that in. So yeah, so that's quite refreshing actually, having that whole process sort of we're all creating simultaneously. It's good.
Awesome. That is awesome. So we are now going to move on to a game I call First, Last, Best, and Worst. So this is where you tell us about the first show, if you can remember that far back, the first show that you ever played, what your last show was, the best show that you've ever played that's open to interpretation, and the worst show that you've ever played that is also open to interpretation. And we'll get to that in just a minute. Starting us off, please, Mark, can you tell us what your first ever show was that you played?
I think my first show, like I before I was playing like heavy metal covers and rock covers, I must have been like 14. Yeah, 14, mate. I was in this, it was weird. It was called the Grub Band, and it was like a collective of about 15 people. So obviously I was the kid. There was 2 or 3 drummers, 4 guitar players, and we'd do 21st and I have this memory of playing in the Ghetto by Elvis Presley.
Oh yeah,
which is the little side stick, which is at that age I'm like, what, play quietly? Are you fucking kidding me? But it was cool, I mean, it wasn't something I was going to do forever, but it was just an excuse to go out and play, and also this is one thing that I would contribute to giving me a good start from that. And then the band after that, I was always surrounded by older people who were more experienced than me.
Okay.
Which is, you never put it this way. I give this advice to my students. You don't ever want to be the best person in your band. If you're the most talented person in your band, it's not necessarily the best place to be. You know what I mean? But if you're in a collective of people who you perceive to be, more musically mature and more talented than you, that's a good place to be, because they've accepted you. You know what I mean? You might perceive them as being better than you, but they're like, no, you're good. No, you're good. So that's it, and that's where you can really go out of your comfort zone and push yourself. You know what I mean, and maybe surprise yourself on what you can achieve. But yeah,
definitely.
That's my opinion.
Definitely. Moving on, what was the last gig that you played?
We played with we just played the other few weeks back at Dead Witch. It was Just One Fix.
Yeah.
So you put a clip up online. It was good. It was cool, but we're a pretty young band, so it's good to be able to back up other bands and not have the responsibility or the stress of putting on your own show. You know what I mean? So we've only put out that first EP, which is 6 tracks. It's in JB Hi-Fi and stuff, and printed some vinyl.
Sure.
So, but this day and age, you got to get yourself out there, and we're pretty new, so yeah.
Awesome. Now, this may be a very hard one to answer. What is the best show that you've ever played? Now, this can be the best that you think that you played. It can be the best show in terms of who you were supporting or who was supporting you. It can be best in terms of crowd, atmosphere. It's really open to interpretation. But what was your best show, please, Mark?
Probably, there's been I'll list a couple if that's all right.
Be my guest.
Probably one, Auckland Town Hall with Lamb of God, and it was just us and them. So we got to play with them 3 times. So first time sort of was like, emailing, put yourself forward, and the next 2 times they picked us, which is very flattering. That's with Subject, obviously. That was very flattering. So I think the second time we played Auckland Town Hall, it was packed. Really, really good response for us, and it sounded massive. It was really cool. The band was really cool. The bass player was so fucking stoned, man. Fuck, it was funny. After about, what's his name again? The grey-haired guy? Nice guy.
John Campbell.
Yeah. He's. And, of course, this is Chris Adler days, too. Chris Adler's a lovely bloke.
Sure.
Yeah, he's the guy. I'm set up on front of his kit, right? And we just finished sound checking. And he's like, oh, hey, man, is it okay? You don't mind if I hop up on my kit behind you and just fuck around a little bit? I'm like, dude, seriously? You're asking me if it's okay? I'm like, yeah, of course it is. But, yeah, and then John Campbell, it might have been one of us helped him get a few supplies, and he completely wrote himself off before the show. I could see them from the other side of the stage, and he's like, right before they go on, and I'm thinking, oh, dude, really? And by like the third song in, he's like basically sitting on the edge of the drum riser, like, yeah, this is good, yeah. But that was a great gig. That was a really good gig. They played really well. Yeah, that's one. I mean, obviously, playing with Ozzy Osbourne early on, that freaked me out at the time. You know what I mean? That was at Lone Campbell Centre, and he came out on stage when we were sound checking. Hey guys, how's it going? You need anything? You know, literally made the effort to come and say g'day.
Wow, that's fucking awesome.
Unbelievable. And we must have looked like this. We're just sitting there staring at him like this. Jack Wild, the loveliest guy you ever meet. Like, he'd be so before the show, and we'd finished our set check. He's like, guys, come over. He's like, have a beer. He's check, you know, all his Les Pauls and all his guitars and stuff. He's like, check out my guitars, man. And, you know, he's 6'5". He's a giant, you know, and we're so, yeah, you know, just this is Zach Wild. Oh my God, he's like picking his guitars off handing us a guitar each. Check it out, man. Check it out.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Really cool. Got friend. Watched the whole set. I'm like playing, and I look over my shoulder, and there's Zach Wild about probably 10 feet away going, I'm not looking back again. You know what I mean? And what did he say at the end of the show? He's like, that was cool, man. That was fucking heavy. And I mean, heavy. I'll never forget that.
Awesome.
Invited us back to the hotel afterwards, which was cool.
Sure.
Ozzy had gone to bed, but it was, and it was Mike Inez on bass as well. What's the drummer's name? He's dead now. Not Jimmy DeGrasse. I always get them mixed up. It'll come back to me. But that was really cool. They were just the crew. They were just hanging out, shouted us a few drinks. Really, really cool. So things like that. Awesome. And probably one more, which was just pretty freaky. This is the biggest crowd I've ever played to. Big day out, about midday on the big stage. That was to about 15,000. So that was pretty scary. It was okay. I've got a recording of that somewhere too. It's real fast.
Oh yeah.
Like everything's real fast, you know what I mean? I think we'd rehearsed a lot, but you know, never played a crowd that big. It's you walk out and you're like, oh shit. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
And just quickly, we did a little tour with Exodus too, which is very close to my heart because those guys treated us so good. And we got to do Auckland, and then we went to Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne, and meeting Gary Holt, you know, godfather of thrash right there, and him being so nice, you know. It's just really cool when you meet these Tom Hunting on drums, when you meet people like that, and they're actually really cool when they're super down to earth. It teaches you a lesson, I think, when you're a younger bloke about, oh right, these guys have everything that I aspire to have, and they couldn't be any more down to earth. There's no bullshit to them, and you'd have to say, well, that's probably one of the reasons they survive. You know.
100%.
Good people, you know. Decent.
And then moving on to the last one is the worst show. So this can be the worst that you can play. It can be the worst kit that you've played on. We've had a couple of those. Worst environment, you know, worst atmosphere, fights and whatnot. It's really open to interpretation as well. So please.
Okay. We didn't really play well, but I've done so many Kiwi shows and down the line, little small towns that have just absolutely fucking sucked. Basically, because nobody's there. You know, you've been playing a Wellington show or a Christchurch show, and you'll be like, oh, let's do we're down for the weekend, let's do an extra one, and you know, whatever. And it's fucking awful, and nobody's there. And you've dragged your gear half across the country. It's cost you hundreds of dollars. You got nothing to show for it. You just hung over and feel slightly ill. We did this one, and this is no exaggeration. We were in Hamilton. I can't remember the venue. And the stage is, just to paint the picture, the stage is about that high, right? Anyway, we're playing, and there's this, you know, Hamilton's Hamilton. Hey, I can't talk. I'm from Christchurch, so don't get me wrong. I'm not slagging off Hamilton, but there was some interesting characters there. So we started playing. The first thing, Next thing, there's this bloke there's in his wheelchair, and I'm not kidding. After about a second song, he would start to get up a bit of a run up, and he'd make a run for the stage and slam into the front of it with his wheelchair, and it would throw him onto the stage, and then he would crawl back into his chair and do it again, and he'd run up and do it again. So that's fucking moshing. Don't even need legs, mate.
No, fuck no.
But then, I think it was a couple of songs later. There's a couple of real sketchy-looking young ladies who were having a bit of a boogie and a drink down the front, and they started doing lines off the front of the stage, bro. I'm not kidding. They were that wasted, and it's like, well, what are you going to do?
Join them.
and then I literally remember, and then I'm playing because when you're the drummer, you miss heaps of shit, right? I've missed so much stuff where I've been told about it after. Oh, did you see? Next thing I look up, and one of the girls, she's just completely off her face. This is just blood just pissing out her nose.
Oh,
her whole top strip. Yeah, so that was pretty feral. And after the show, it was so feral, we're packing up, and literally we're outside the venue. There's the van, here's the gear, and one of these punters just right in front of us grabs the massive 8x10 speaker cabinet, bass cab, and just starts wheeling it away. It's like, bro, what are you doing?
Oh,
yeah. So that was pretty interesting. That was pretty interesting, that one. Oh, and one thing I will say is we did a show in Whammy Bar last year with Bullet Belt, and which was our first show we'd ever done, and a guy collapsed second song in.
Oh no.
He's gone, and turns out he was on mushrooms. We thought he was dead. He didn't move for about 30, 40 seconds. And we're like, fucking hell, first gig, somebody dies, imagine that. But he was fine.
Okay.
That was pretty funny. But it was a bit of a moment like, oh, funny to start with. 30 seconds later, he's still not moving. Oh, but it was cool. Everybody else there was really cool and helped him up. And yeah, it was a bit.
Sure. Okay.
There's a few that I can remember anyway.
So, Mark, you happen to be one of the fairly low number of New Zealanders that are endorsed or sponsored. Can you tell us about your endorsements, please?
Yeah, so we actually started off. I actually used to be with Zildjian way back in the early 2000s, and then after that, I'm not sure what happened with that, but I got offered a minor one, which was actually really cool. That was sort of via the rock shop in a way. Just to let you know too, because a lot of people out there have weird ideas about endorsements. There's different tiers of endorsement, right? Obviously. So if I was to compare, so for me, I'm not, don't have a huge international profile. So for mine, you got to apply for these things, right? I've had people say the most ridiculous things online, right? Oh, bro, seriously, this is no exaggeration. But what the fuck, bro? Hook me up with some free symbols, bro. And this is from people you don't even know, hit you up on the internet. That's their reply to, say, seeing something that you've got. Oh, bro, hook me up. And so you actually, just so people know, you actually have to apply for these things. You've got to contact them, right? Usually it helps if you've got somebody locally who works with the distribution agency that deals with that brand that's like wants to put a word in for you. He's a good guy. He's been with shopping with, supporting the brands for a long time, blah, 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 blah. But you got to send in a full CV. You got to send in, recordings, video of you playing, things about yourself. And then it's just like anything else. You put yourself forward and you send it in and you wait. All right. So, but yeah, just quickly about the Minor thing. I was with Minor, which was all good. And then certain person that works at the rock shops still, basically, who's a Christian, and this is no shit, basically just came up to me one day, and because I wasn't quite sure what was happening. It was weird because I'd gone from being, just say a customer who then got the hookup, and then I went and worked for them. As soon as I started working for them, this guy didn't like me. I don't like him. Hard out Christian, would hook up all his Christian shitty fucking band mates, whatever. I don't give a fuck if I hope he sees it. And he basically said to me one day, what did you say? Yeah. I said, do you know what's happening with Minor? I've emailed the guys in Germany. I sort of haven't heard anything back. And he's like, yeah, you're not really what we're looking for. And the type of music you're playing doesn't really represent what we want to be putting forward. So fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
Right? Fuck that guy.
Fuck
he
that
also
guy.
he even tried to fucking put his oar in and fuck things up for my mate Jamie from Ulcerate. I'll leave it there. But yeah, so that was silver lining, because fast forward a few years, I was talking. I don't know if you met Nathan that used to work at Music Works. Nathan Trainer.
The name rings a bell, but no, maybe
he works in Melbourne now. He works at Drummers Paradise, which is an amazing store. I wish we had a store like that over here. But and he's like, we're just shooting the shit one day, and he's like, dude, you should go for a Paiste, because I love Paiste. All my favorite guys play Paiste.
Oh, okay.
Danny Carey, Phil Rudd from AC/DC, Nico from Iron Maiden, John Bonham, not anymore, but Ian Pace. The list is actually insane of how many. Another one I'm a huge fan of is Josh Freese, who's perfect.
Yep.
Now in the Foo Fighters.
Yes.
He's been Paiste forever, yeah. And he was like, you should go for Paiste. I'm like, oh, yeah, really? Oh, I mean, yeah, I love Paiste, but so just sort of painting a picture. He's like, yeah, I'll sort of help you if you want to put a CV together. I sort of tweaked it, and he's like, oh, maybe take, he sort of, because I wasn't feeling that confident because I'd lost the Minor, so I was feeling a bit down about that. I don't need it. I don't need the stress. I've got cymbals. You know what I mean? But anyway, same thing again, put it together, sent it away, and then a few months later, I think it was 2 months and a bit, went to the letterbox, Paiste cymbals. So it was literally like something out of some sort of, American graduation movie or something, where you when they get accepted to a university, you open the letter and you're still standing by the mailbox and you're like, hi, Mark, would just like to say welcome to the Paiste family. And that was a huge, sun was shining. It was a good day. It was a really good day. So basically, and just to what I said before, so the way these things, so basically for me, I got a first set free. So they send you what you want for your first setup. And then after that, it's like a 75% discount thing for if you want extra stuff. I think you get, I think if you crack some cymbals, they give you, I'd have to check, 1 or 2 replacements a year. Believe it or not, I have not cracked a cymbal since 2014.
Awesome.
And a lot of that's because I used to work in the drums shop, and I used to have to assess all the warranty cymbals. So there's probably a lot of people out there fucking hate my guts, excuse my language, because I turn them down. I'll be like, dude, yes, you have gone out and brought all the splashes like Derek Roddy, but unlike Derek Roddy, he probably breaks them, every half a dozen shows. That one's gone, that one's gone. He's got a bag full of them. You've been doing it up tight. I can see your hand is clenched in a white knuckle death grip. Tight hand, tight cymbal that's small and thin. Whack, 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 crack. Sorry, mate, I'm not going to replace that for you. So I had a lot of people really shitty. I'm like, it's technique. You know what I mean? To a point. To a point, it's technique. If you're smashing it and touring, playing 5 nights, 6 nights a week, or you play like Eloy.
Oh, gosh.
Plays like that man plays like he has no family. Love him. I don't really care about Slipknot, but I love Eloy. I'm actually a little bit gutted that he left. That was bad form leaving Sepultura, just through the last tour, bro. Come on, man. I'm sure it's more complicated than that. But to me, I care about Sepultura. I don't care too much about Slipknot. In fact, now it's like, now if I want to see one of my favorite drummers, I have to watch bloody Slipknot. You know what I mean? I like their first 2 records, but they're not an important band to me like Sepultura are. You know what I mean? Sepultura are very, very dear to me. So for me, I was a little bit put out. I'm sure Eloy will be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. All right. So moving on from there, if anybody wants to find Deadhouse Gates, where would they go?
Yeah, we're on all the platforms. We're a bit not that bit slack on Instagram, but we're on there, Facebook, and all the others. What's all the title and all that? You know what I mean? iTunes, you can download the EP from there, and obviously on YouTube.
Sure.
There too. We just put up some live stuff recently, and yeah. So all the usual spots, you'll pretty much find us there.
Outstanding.
I don't even use Spotify because I don't like it because it rips us off. I don't need it. I don't need it, and I certainly don't need an algorithm. Algorithms, I don't know about you, but they're alarmingly inaccurate. Like the shit that gets suggested to me on whether it be YouTube or the few times I've been on Spotify, it's like, what are you fucking talking about? I hate that shit. I don't want to listen to that. You know what I mean? It's not even close. So I don't know whether,
yeah, it can be
showing my age.
Yeah. Just a little bit. All right. So, Mark, we are now at the very last part of the show. So this is where you get to make any plugs for any things, releases, shows, whatnot that you've got coming up, and make any shout outs to any people that you want to make shout outs to. Mark Rees, sir, the floor is yours.
I guess I'm grateful for anybody that's supported me. I've been around for a long time, and it really, I really appreciate it when people make and especially these days, like there's so much music out now, which is a good thing. Let's be fair. Music is free. Whoever would have thought that? It's free. You can just grab, when I was a kid, I have to save up. You talk about that Ride the Lightning record. That was like 4 weeks saving up to buy my first Metallica vinyl. So,
yeah.
And then after I had that, I couldn't afford a new record for probably another couple of months. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I thrashed the fuck out of it. But yeah, anybody who has heard me play or seen me play and enjoys it, thank you. All the guys at Music Works and Peisty. Tama Drums, of course. I mentioned Tama Drums. That was a similar sort of thing. I didn't get I've got the Star Classic Maple. So I got like a shell pack, which a shell pack, as you probably know, when you got a nice kit like that, you get a kick drum, 2 rack toms, and a floor tom. That's it. There's no stands included. There's no pedals included. There's no throne. So everything else I had to go get myself, which is cool. The guys in the band, I'm really proud of Deadhouse Gates for our first EP. It's really good. And we've got a lot of new shit we're writing. Probably got enough for 2/3 of an album already. No rush on releasing it. Maybe, I don't know. Probably won't put it out this year, I don't think, but maybe early next year. But you know what it's like when you're trying to, you're in a band yourself, when you're trying to, you don't really need to put a date on it. We'll put it out when it's good, when we're happy. Sure. Which could be a long time. But yeah, that's about it for me, I think.
Fantastic.
I could list heaps of people that I could thank, but shit. People want to support me or listen to my music. That's good enough for me.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, this has been an education, man. You are an absolute star. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Well, thank you, bro. It's thank you for the support. Nobody else has done this before, so I think it's really, other people have done band stuff, but it's really cool that there's a metal drummer space for us to shoot the shit, and it's really cool. Good on you.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching. This has been the Drop Clutch episode 25 with me, Ricky V. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, Drew. See ya.